Folks, welcome into that betting show for May 7th, 2019, your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. He's Teddy Savransky. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_covers. I'm Donnie Seymour, right side VP. Teddy, some breaking news coming across the wire, and executives aren't going to be happy from these major networks. At least in the Preakness, we get the hope of coming up with a Triple Crown winner. Country House, Teddy, out of the Triple Crown. We're not even going to get a chance to see somebody win the Kentucky Derby and at least compete in the Preakness. Not good.
Yeah, I mean, the whole scenario hasn't really been good, especially, again, this is a much bigger story because sports betting is legal now. Even though horse racing was legal everywhere beforehand, this story, A, it has legs, it's sticking around. B, everybody's still talking about it. And C, the fact that we're in an environment now where sports betting stories can be mainstream stories. This isn't going away. All that being said, yeah, it's a disaster for TV ratings. There's no chance for a Triple Crown after the first race. It's not really good for bettors when everybody with the winning ticket has to rip theirs up. And the long shot cashes at 65-1. Let's be real. Country House wasn't going to win the Preakness anyway. He was lucky to win the Derby.
Teddy, sometimes these games get lined exactly the way you might thought they would go, or maybe the algorithms line up. Last night, exactly the case here. Rockets return the favor on a home court with back-to-back wins over the Warriors. No surprise to me, Teddy, that the series goes 2-2 back to Golden State. Yesterday, if you had a total in that game, you were clutching that ticket late in the game because anywhere between, what do we have, 219 and 220 where it closed out at 112-108 Rockets win. James Harden was fantastic, 38 points and 10 boards. If you would have told me before the game, Teddy, that both Steph Curry and KD would play that well, I'd say, you know what? Rockets are going up, the Warriors are going up 3-1 heading home. Not the case. 2-2 going back to Golden State. Right on that line, Teddy.
Sure. And look, this was a legitimate middle in the total last night. Sometimes we talk about, the line opened here and it closed there. And but it wasn't available for very long. There were 221s available, 220.5s available, 219.5s available, 219s available. This was a game where especially the books that cater to wise guys, they pounded both sides of this total, and it lands right on 220. Not a good result for the house. Chris Paul said for the total, for the side, it was a great result because all the money came on the Warriors. Golden State closed as chalk in some spots, -1 off an opener where they were 2-point dogs. So the money on the side, very good for the house. The money on the total, well, the books gave a lot of it back with that landing in the middle. Chris Paul, after the game, said, we need to play better. I agree 100%. He's right. Harden missed a free throw down the stretch. Paul missed a free throw down the stretch. Bad shot selection during crunch time. Couldn't get stops during crunch time. They nearly blew a 9-point lead with 2 and change remaining because of that execution problem. Better hope that execution problem doesn't come back to haunt them in Golden State in Game 5.
Yeah, 17-point lead in that game, Teddy. And then you look at the end of the game, 2 clean looks. The 2 guys you don't want to be shooting. Kevin Durant with a clean look straight up for a 3-point shot. And then right behind it after an offensive rebound, Steph Curry got one. Wasn't meant to be. But again, the Rockets will move on 2-2 going back to Golden State. I'll tell you an interesting thing. We always come here and we give you the information on that betting show, both Teddy and I. Sometimes you could take the information, maybe you don't want the information. But if we reach back and see Paul Pierce after game 1, Teddy, in the Eastern Conference here between the Bucks and the Celtics, he said there's no way the Bucks are going to get up off the carpet after the first game loss. Matter of fact, they would get swept in this series. Not the case here, Teddy. The Bucks going back 3 straight winners, including 2 in Boston. Now take it back to Milwaukee and look to close out. The best team in the NBA all season, certainly playing like it.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, last night's game felt like one where Boston was going to put a run on and put a little distance between them and Milwaukee, and it just didn't happen. And then, lo and behold, crunch time, start of the fourth quarter, Bucks go on their run, and that's ball game. No answers for Boston when it mattered most, and a lot of it's Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving's last 3 games, 19 of 62 from the field. The 43 missed field goal attempts, the most that he's ever had in a 3-game playoff span. His quote, I missed shots. Shots just didn't go in. You go out and repair. Like I said, sometimes they go in, sometimes they don't. This is a little kudos for Mike Budenholzer. Quote, they do a great job of loading, too. They're making the paint look crowded whenever I'm driving, whenever I'm going on the court, seeing 2 or 3 bodies, sometimes 4. Of course, Irving left it off. Now it's time to get ready for Game 5. The market's not expecting Boston to fight tooth and nail with Milwaukee. Big chalk to close out the series in what may well be the finale for Kyrie Irving in a Celtics uniform.
Yeah, Ted, if we take a look at the series prices here, you can get a nice tidy price of 20-1 on the Celtics for coming back, but it's always interesting to me to find the ebbs and flows, especially in the NBA. I mean, we just saw games 3 and 4 played in the Boston Garden, Teddy, with the favored home team being the Celtics. Now it goes back for game 5, and a -9.5 is hanging out there. Just looking at it real quick, Teddy, without capping it, that seems to be spelling doom right now, right, for the Celtics, as it's pretty much a wrap.
The point spread seems to indicate that the initial market reaction is that Boston's fought the good fight. What do we say at the start of the playoffs? When a team is done, they're done. And certainly this point spread indicates the Celtics might well be done going into Milwaukee. Although, hey, we've seen funnier things happen than the Celtics pulling off an upset like this. If the Bucks exhale, might be a problem in Game 5.
Crazy, Teddy, because when you look at this Eastern Conference as a whole, we talked about it earlier. I mean, look, at the Sixers win, they might blow a couple things up. If Toronto loses, they might blow a couple things up. And same thing with the Celtics and Kyrie. How many trades, assets is Danny Ainge going to use in the offseason? Something certainly to keep an eye on. I'll tell you what we should keep an eye on, Teddy, last night. Some big dog winners in Major League Baseball. Both the White Sox and the Marlins go on the road, Teddy, and mine some gold. Ivan Nova and the Sox take down Trevor Bauer in Cleveland and cash the 225. And, taking a look at this Chicago Cubs team, they can't, 16-4 in their last 20 games, playing, to me, the worst team in Major League Baseball. Cole Hamels pitching phenomenal baseball like it was the 2008 MVP World Series, Cole Hamels. And yet alone, look, this is why we bet the games, Teddy. Marlins take down a big dog, too.
Yeah, and the Marlins won despite the fact their pitchers issued 10 walks yesterday against the Cubs. Don Mattingly, that's probably not a very good blueprint in this ballpark with that team. Yeah, but it didn't matter because in the ninth inning, what happened? Pedro Strop came in and he walked 3 batters, and Miami took advantage, rallying for that 3-run deficit in the ninth. I believe that's the first ninth inning rally all year for Miami. Kudos to the Marlins. They're going to win every once in a while. They're just not going to win a whole lot. And the Orioles won yesterday as a big dog. They were only plus 150 and they were at home, but pretty good day if you were putting some of these dogs together in MLB action.
Yeah, Teddy, with the Marlins, forget about like ninth inning rallies. Maybe their only rally of the season and maybe the only one that they're going to get this year. So congratulations if you did cap on that. If we take a look, Teddy, in the NFL, yesterday we talked a little bit of Arizona Cardinals. The bottom of the barrel in the NFC West is what we're going to anticipate. Let's take a look a little bit where the cream rises to the top, the Los Angeles Rams, the NFC champions. Thank you to a little bit of help from some refereeing, but they did go 13-3 last year, Teddy. I lost money on the Super Bowl because I believed in the Rams would be ready for this game. Sean McVay completely outcoached on the offensive side of the ball by Bill Belichick and the Patriots, but it is what it is. If we take a look at this year, Teddy, not bad odds, 9-1 to win the 2019 championship, 4-1 to win the NFC, and their team total sitting at 10.5. A little bit of veteran leadership with Eric Weddle coming over. We did see last year 2 key ingredients in that Rams offense that we're going to want to keep an eye on this year. The status of Todd Gurley's knee, because even a couple weeks ago when he was interviewed for the first time, showing up for OTAs, it feels okay. And, he didn't get any surgery to fix it. We'll see if that hampers him down in the future for this next year. But also, once Cooper Kupp went down in that slot, Teddy, they missed a lot at wide receiver.
Sure. You're talking about the skill position talent. I'm more worried about the offensive line for LA, but I like to start the team previews by taking a thorough look at what happened last year. Last year, from a yards per play perspective, the Rams 0.4 on the positive side. So they were pretty good in that regard. They weren't a great team at running or particularly at stopping the run. They were a net minus 0.2 yards per rush between what they gained on offense and what they allowed on defense. Goff had a QB rating over 100. The defense allowed opposing quarterbacks to have a QB rating of about 94. So a little bit advantage for the QB play, although there may be a blueprint out there now about how to stop Jared Goff that wasn't available prior to that Super Bowl. And, of course, the Rams last year, plus 11 in turnovers margin, one of the best in the league, one of the top 5 in the league in positive turnover differential. That's something that they will need to continue to be good at in 2019 if they're going to be successful for their backers. From a strength of schedule standpoint, last year, basically an average strength of schedule. It's slightly easier this year, and I mean literally, like this little, not anything that's statistically significant about the schedule differential. Not much tougher this year than last year, like some of the teams we're going to talk about when we do these previews. You talk about the departures from this team, and again, this is a squad that made a lot of all-in moves last year. A lot of the guys couldn't stick around. And certainly on the offensive line, obviously Ndamukong Suh hasn't been re-signed. C.J. Anderson hasn't been re-signed. The safety, LaMarcus Joyner, the Raiders gave him $40 million. The ones that concerned me, you know, the center John Sullivan, the guard Roger Saffold, who's in Tennessee right now. This is an offensive line that they need to be successful. I'm not convinced they have the pieces. They did bring in Eric Weddle and Clay Matthews, two, big names on defense, and that's been the way that LA's gone in recent years, going for the veteran defenders with big names, and it's paid off for them. Weddle and Matthews, I think both still have something left in the tank. And look who they signed as their backup quarterback in case Goff gets hurt. No Goff? Rams fans? Welcome to the Blake Bortles era. They give him $1 million guaranteed to be their backup for 2019.
It should be interesting to watch. Obviously, going to the Super Bowl last year, can they replicate it this year? They did very well by me, Teddy, in the playoffs. I did cover against the Dallas Cowboys, did cover against the New Orleans Saints. Weren't able to pull off the trifecta in the Super Bowl, but we'll try again this year. Overnight line movers, SBRodds.com, the single best place on the internet to check these line movements. And today in Major League Baseball, Teddy, they are a moving. Rookie Angels pitchers line on the rise. Canning's going to get the start versus Detroit versus Norris. When we took a look a little bit earlier today, lines opened up at 120, 125, opened up and got as high as 140 in the low 140s, but now coming back into the 130s, minus 133, minus 137. A total of 9 tonight with Canning versus Norris.
Who do the markets like? The markets like the young prospect over the tired retread veteran. We're going to see it again and again and again. It's a theme here on That Betting Show. And we're seeing it in this game. Canning is a second-round pick back in 2017. No, he didn't have a great debut last week, but the markets think this guy has bet on all over him. And Norris is the tired retread. He's the guy the Tigers picked up. Oh, we need him to eat up some innings. Guys like that rarely take a lot of money, and oftentimes the money comes against them, just like we're seeing for this game with the early money coming for the road favorite.
No, absolutely correct on that, Teddy, because we do see it a lot. Some of these young phenoms, you don't really have a book on the guy until they get that second loop around the National or American League before they can get touched up a little bit. They can catch some teams by surprise. Last night we saw it with Paddock, who was sensational once again for the San Diego Padres. Tonight, total rising in the Bronx. And we actually had to update this before we even went on the air, Teddy. Opened up at 8.5 this morning, rose to 9. By the time we took the air today on SBRodds.com, Teddy, 9.5s across the board. Gonzalez and Tanaka, nice day in the Bronx. High 60s, wind slightly blowing out. See if we get some offense today, Teddy.
Oh, yeah, the market's certainly expecting it. And the pitching matchup is one that bettors seem to be very interested in and over. Marco Gonzalez is not a guy who the markets have liked at all. He got bombed last time. He won his first 5 starts, but last time couldn't make it out of the second inning, gave up 6 runs in an 11-0 loss. A game that went over the total despite the fact that Seattle got shut out. And, of course, the Yankees continue to hit bombs, every night. Seattle, of course, leads the majors in home runs. Yeah, they're 6-16 in their last 22 games after that 13-2 start. But it's worth noting Tanaka, too, coming off his shortest outing of the season, getting it out of the 4th inning against Arizona last Wednesday. So 2 starters the markets don't trust, 2 lineups they do, and warm weather and wind blowing out equals lots of over money in the Bronx this evening.
Early line bouncing around here, Teddy. Berrios and the Twins line was dropping earlier Tuesday, but now rebounding, as we see here at SBRodds.com. Opened up around 150, sat around in the mid to low 130s. Now we're seeing, Teddy, minus 149, minus 152, minus 50s across the board, a total of 9. Berrios versus Sanchez up in the Dome in Toronto.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised at the early line move, and my gut reaction was that, if you remember, last time out, we even talked about it right here, that the money came against Aaron Sanchez. Heavy money came against Aaron Sanchez last time, and he didn't pitch well. So my thought was that the markets had over-adjusted against Sanchez, and there was a group of bettors out there who were like, no, this is just too high to go against this one guy. The markets made too big of an adjustment off that bad start. All that being said, now we're seeing the BERRIOS money coming in. And, it's a Blue Jays team that's lost 3 in a row, 6 of their last 7. The Twins have won 8 of 11, despite losing 2 out of 3 to the Yanks over the weekend. It's 2 teams headed in opposite directions, and certainly the market's reflecting that now, although the early money came the other way, which was a little bit of a surprise to me.
We'll see if Vladdy Jr. can get hot up there in Toronto and carry them for the rest of the season. That'll all be desired there. Watch what you bet, Teddy. Game 5 in the North. The Sixers missed a monster opportunity to take a 3-1 lead before going back to Toronto, but Toronto wrestles home court away from the Philadelphia 76ers, and the line tells you a lot here, Teddy. In the previous games, minus 1s, plus 1s, switching back and forth, minus 6.5, minus 6s out there across the board at SBRodds.com in the favor of the Raptors. Total 211.5 money line split, plus 210, minus 250. 8 p.m. tonight from the Scotiabank Center in Toronto. Sixers 44-47 against the number on the season, 11-13 against the number as a road dog. If we take a look at the Raptors 43-46 against the number on the season. And one of my favorite ones, Teddy, hey, it's a Tuesday. Maybe they party there. They're 10-4 against the number on a Tuesday. That doesn't mean anything. Just sounds nice, Teddy.
Sure. It's a nice little angle, 71% angle. Hey, they're yes. 10-4 on Tuesdays. Kawhi Leonard was a difference maker in Game 4, no question. It was a monster, 39 points, 14 boards. Well, that and Embiid not being a factor. But certainly for the series, Kawhi Leonard, 38 points, 9 boards a game. He's shooting 62% from the field, 46% from three-point range. If Toronto's going to win, it's going to be on his back. Brett Brown's quote stands out a little bit. Funny enough, with our wings, I think we've done a decent job on him defensively. Might we look to double team him a little bit more? Possibly. But we were able to create, I think, 7 turnovers and just try to do our best to kind of show him a crowd. At the end of the day, that's a hell of a playoff game. 39 points, and you really felt all of them. Nick Nurse's quote, we weren't in great rhythm, right? But we were good enough Sunday. We were fighting and figuring some things out on the fly. We're running some stuff we've never run before with Mark and Serge and trying to figure out how to best use that kind of stuff. And that really was a difference maker for Toronto in Game 4. Gasol and Ibaka on the floor together. For the entirety of the regular season, they were on the floor for 31 minutes together. In Game 4, they were on the floor together for 25 minutes together. So that duo worked. A lot of it had to do with the fact that Embiid wasn't a factor. Embiid, quote, I didn't have a good night, didn't sleep, was throwing up. I needed an IV at 6 a.m. I tried to play. I tried to get the win. Obviously, it wasn't enough. It wasn't. He missed the free throws at the end of the game. He had called for traveling. It was a pretty ugly for Embiid. I like this quote from Jimmy Butler, quote, if you're going to go 2 for 7, which is what Embiid shot in that game, go 2 for 20. We're rocking with Joel. I'm with it. That's what we need out of him, to always be aggressive. Go show why you're so dominant night in, night out at both ends of the floor. You're making a case for the Sixers tonight. It's about Embiid blowing up the low post. You're making a case for Toronto tonight. You're saying Kawhi Leonard going to keep doing what he's doing. Philly has no answers. Those are the 2 factors. I got a pretty strong opinion on this one, but, I'm not going to lay with the Raptors this evening.
Folks, if you heard that phone ringing, that was Teddy getting the late-breaking information on Joel Embiid's health status for tonight that only Teddy can provide. Let's take a look at the Nuggets tonight, taking a look to regain home court in elevation. Trailblazers Nuggets -4.5 total of 213. Moneyline split +170, -195. The Blazers, Teddy, 49-42 against the number on the season, 17-19 against the number as a dog, and 23-22 on the season overall as a dog. The Nuggets, 48-45 against the number on the season, 34-30 against the number as a favorite, and 28-19 against the spread at home. Should be a good game tonight. Second half of our doubleheader.
Yeah, this series has been every bit as good as Houston Golden State. All 4 games have been decided by 8 points or less, including 1 in 4 OTs. And we saw something for the second. This is a Denver team that's growing up before our eyes. Second straight series. They're down 2-1. They're facing a must-win Game 4 on the road. And the second straight series, Denver's dominates the second half to win that ball game. And of course, we're talking about a team that haven't had any extra rest since that marathon 4 OT game on Friday night. And, Jokic played 65 Friday night, he played 39 on Sunday. Quote, I think it's not quitting. We have a lot of competitive guys who don't want to lose. I think we don't want to lose more than we like to win, which is weird. We just didn't want to have the excuse that we lost because of 4 overtimes because we were tired. There's something to be said for that. All that being said, it's hard to lay points in this series. I don't think that Portland's will is broken because they lost a game at home. And Damian Lillard is still a guy who can take over a game. Now, look, Denver's defense on Lillard has been great in this series. His quote, they're trying to show me bodies and make me play in a crowd. Find the open man. That's what I'm trying to do. McCollum's been the beneficiary. He scored 30 points in his last 3 games, an average of 30 points in the last 3. They're going to need more than just McCollum to score off of Lillard's double and triple teams tonight if they're going to hang tough with a chance at the outright upset.
Yep, both teams favored tonight. The Raptors, as we said, -6 to -6.5, -4.5 across the board at SBRodds.com. Off the mic segment, Teddy. Usually you work really hard. Usually you spend a couple months grinding and say, you know what? I need a quick break. not actually signing a contract by saying, look, I was already off for the year. I'm going to need a little bit more time. Le'Veon Bell and the New York Jets, sure to be a sensational headline for the rest of the summer. 4 years, $52 million contract. But he's going to sit it out a little bit, rest up, and spend some more time with the family. The Bucs, Jason Pierre-Paul injures his neck off in a single car crash in the offseason. We've seen that story before with him. But another interesting one, Teddy. Only me and you find some joy in this type of stuff. The Bears struggling to find a kicker. If you watch it last year in the playoffs, a block that happened to miss, the double doink, as we like to call it here in the city of Philadelphia. Let's resurrect this, Teddy. Let's go through an off season. We're going to sign some free agents. We're going to bring them in, and then we'll trade for another kicker. Come on, Bears.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be you can already tell it's going to be a problem in Chicago. But first, I got to make fun of all the people that are freaking out about Le'Veon Bell. All right. Here's the quote from the head coach. Again, you're in New York. You're in a media spotlight like no other. Here's the quote from Adam Gase. It's voluntary. Bell was here the first week of offseason workouts. We got a lot of good information that week to him. It's voluntary. Voluntary means voluntary. And the media doesn't seem to get that, especially in New York City. As for the Bears, this is going to be fun, and it's already funny, unless you're a Bears fan. You already know whatever kicker they sign, and this is going to be a problem. Whatever kicker they sign is going to miss a crucial kick. You can count on it. You can expect it. And oh, by the way, Bears fans, look at your schedule for 2019. From between last year and this year, no team in the NFL faces a bigger difference. Schedule-wise, last year's easy, this year's very tough. In fact, the single toughest in the NFL, Bears ain't going over their win total in 2019. And kickers are just going to be one piece of the equation.
Voluntarily watching that betting show? Absolutely not, Teddy. It's mandatory viewing here, May 7, 2019. Your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. He's Teddy Savransky. Once again, give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_covers. I'm Donnie Seymour, right side VP. We'll be back tomorrow to recoup everything that happened tonight in this doubleheader in the NBA and set you up moving forward. Thanks for tuning in and cash those tickets, fellas.